Hello, chess friends. This is International Master Valeri, and welcome to today's lecture on YouTube. Today we're going to be talking about a really interesting topic, the art of checkmate. Now, I'm pretty sure that a lot of you are interested to know how to checkmate the opponent. I mean, who wouldn't? Usually that is a key topic for the game. But no, really, the reason for our talk today is going to be to discuss the different techniques of attacking and essentially how can you deliver a winning attack versus your opponent. Everybody wants that, and it's a beautiful thing to have. But how do you do that? How do you make this successful in your games? So to go for this, I'd like to show you a couple of brilliant examples. In my opinion, at least, they're brilliant. You will judge by yourself. These are games that were presented in by Grandmaster Shankland, one of my favorite grandmasters. He had a course for IHS very recently, and in that course, he presented three very special games. If any of you is interested, his Shankland Meta 2 is on the link below this video, so you might actually want to check this out and see what it's all about. It's a great course that you can learn a great deal from. But what I'm really going to start with is a game that was played between Shankland himself, actually Volkov himself, Sergei Volkov, sorry, and his opponent named Bartosz Sachko. This is a game that is very impressive by many accounts, so we're going to definitely have a look at that one right now to begin with. Volkov was playing with white, and he started off with d4, c4, and knight c3. Now, that doesn't look very much like a really brilliant and attacking opening, but after knight c3, it's enough flexible formation to provide different attacking resources in any way we need them. So white plays f3. Black picked up to do the move of d5, a3 exchange, recaptures, and then castling on the short side. So that made a good sense. Black is castling. Okay, so white plays c6 to the d. Now, this is a very weird way to start off the game. People will be like, okay, Valeri, I'm not sure what you're actually talking right here, because like white has no development, and it almost feels like most of his pieces are fairly backward. But that's not too bad, and there are good reasons why. So after the move of edicts to the d5 by black, white played e3. See, it's really about the long-term advantages that white wanted to achieve. In the given position right here, we see an incredibly important key advantage that white's getting, and that's the bishop pair. It's not like he's going to be able to use them right away, but there are plenty of ways on how white can actually back up a very good development, including the idea of a castle. And then with that in mind, there is going to be an essential way to play moves like pawn to e4 or c4 to get the bishop open. In fact, it wasn't so much that white wanted to open up the position in general. It was much more about his ability to take the bishop pair, open up the position, preparing it to, and then he knew that this wouldn't affect in any way his development. So it's all structure. It's all about development at this point. And next move, there was knight h5, knight e2, rook e8, and g4. That is, it's not a cool looking move. Let's put it this way. This is a move that looks like a crazy looking candidate with no real preparation. White is just jumping on with an attack. I mean, why would anyone want to do this? This is crazy, right? Looks like it. So why? Why then would he jump in to try and deliver this type of candidate? The answer to that question is very simple. The ability to attack is always measured by one's chance to create threats. And the real big problem, I think, for Black right now is his inability to create threats. It's his lack of possibilities to manage any. That is really where it goes bad. It's not so much that he doesn't want to do it. Of course, he wants, but he can't. So that's what White is using. G4, Black gives a check, and then Knight of 6 leads to queen e1. Black does not have any threats. Now, you're probably wondering, Valeri, I'm not sure what you're actually showing me here, because I would never, ever like to have myself be in a position where I'm gonna move around and just wait for my pieces to like come down and defend my king. I mean, come on, this is crazy stuff. If you say that, I'd be totally with you. But again, think about this. What kinds of threats is Black going to create? He may be having some nice pieces, but what threats is he going to make? Everything when it comes down to an attack is about real threats. And if the threats cannot continue or progress, there is going to be no way for the position to really grow. It is a huge point that helps White to be very successful here with a couple of next moves, especially. Very interesting idea. So after that, certainly, Black has a problem, or at least a little bit of a problem. His pieces feel a little blocked, and there's just not too much he could do with them. He played c5, and I'm going to let you to take a moment here and think about what's White's best move now. Take a second, think about this. The king is not perfect. There is truth in that. Um, there's other problems too. We'll definitely experience, but it's White's turn. And what should White try or do in this position? Black is countering the center. He wants to prove successful. What should White try? Now, when I look at this situation, the first thing that comes to my mind is a lot of White's pieces are undeveloped, and it almost makes you feel like, okay, Valeri, why are you showing this game? There's nothing, here to learn that I could use in my game. There's a very special point later in the game that I want to bring. But first, remember, even though White, it felt like a very experimental approach by White, it's actually about development. White chose to fight for the space, for the control in the beginning, and all those type of things. But in the end of the day, you see that the longer, in the longer run, the major advantage he is going to fight for is the development. So that's what he's doing here with that last move. Bishop d3, it opens the route, and then we're having moves like h4 or g5 and a few others that feel good. Black played b6, h4, knight d7, and now came a huge surprise. I mean, who would expect a move like that? Tell me. Nobody. It just looks like, wow, really? I mean, like, it's how does a move like this really work? Well, it works for a number of reasons. The most important reason being is that if Black takes on the g6, we're going to have the g5 come through, and then we see the the terror that Black has to go through. It's amazing. White has no development, and yet he's making a move that completely forces Black to lose. Like f takes g obviously leads to g5, so the queen's going to be trapped down. And he plays h takes g. White still plays g5, and even though this time the Black queen has a good place, it's completely isolated, and White has h5. So why is a move like this even possible? Before we continue, I want to go back to this position and show it to you once again. Now, take a look. If you look at it at a first sight, it looks like, oh, White's not good. I mean, his king is in the middle and all that. This is bad, and this is bad. So you're going to look at it superficially and say, all right, I don't like that. But then if you think a little deeper, if you dig a little deep in this situation. You realize that it's not really about that. What it's really about is what are the actual prospects of those pieces. See, what are these pieces going to do? Black may have a better looking setup and better looking pieces, but in the long run, there is nothing that speaks for the strength, the power, or anything else that these pieces can do. And that's a big, huge, idea. If Black is unable to do anything with his pieces, then why bother to worry or just like think about anything special? White is ahead, and he's going to continue bringing his pieces even further. It's about prospects. Remember that kind of rule, I'd say, that it's never about how it looks right now. How it looks right now matters very little. So what do we do after we named 7? That's the huge point. Now, while you're thinking about that, I do want to say that a lot of these examples, I mean, all of the examples that we're going to see today, and a lot of similar thematic examples are being taken from the incredible second part of Grandmaster Sam Shankland's new course, his method, so to speak. It's offered for a 50%, incredible 50% discount from the link below this video or the link on the chat. And it comes, with a great value. I mean, I think it's about 16-hour course for $50. So it's really a great deal. Only available for a few hours. And again, Shankland is brilliant. He's an incredibly imaginative player. His rating is over 2,600. He's in the top players of the United States. So a lot of his lectures explain the methodology behind how we should think. And so this is one of the brilliant games that I was able to pick up from that video course. But again, going back to this, White sacrificed the piece. So it's really just, okay, how do we prove that the sacrifice wasn't just a mistake and it actually had a strong meaning behind it? Like, obviously it had a good meaning, but where do we go from here? Do we have the possibility to open up? Do we have a chance to pressure or open? Or it's just, it was a nice move, but in the end of the day, we just lost it all. It's a great, great question, in my opinion. And I do like to say that when it comes to a situation or even a structure like this, one of the things that matters a lot is really the possibility for you to advance fast. Not necessarily every time, but whenever you can. Because truth is, whenever you go to advance a little bit faster than your opponent, you're not going to give him time. And you want that more than anything else. Advance, pressure, do not give your opponent the time to do much more. With that in mind, Black is in a bit of trouble. He's got to worry. There's going to be the possible exchange in the opening of the position, which will certainly help White to get an almost winning advantage out there. It's a great setup. It's really, really good to do. To King F8. Surely, if Black takes, this is going to be very painful because White's got to capture here, and it's got moves like G6 and or maybe first Queen H1, King F8, G6, check, and Knight takes D5. So we see that Black is on the verge of losing really badly. It's not like he could do anything. It's a very bad position. So after the move of H5, Black picked up the only thing he could do, which was King F8. Now White takes on the G6 with a tempo. An example of the powerful attack out there to force Black's queen down. And then we go with the question, okay, where to now? It's a great looking rook. It's a beautiful setup. Most of Black's own pieces are actually fairly bad and behind. So this is a good deal. How do we advance here? Strong pieces, great development. It's all there. but still, I don't feel it's enough. We have to get more. Have to be even stronger. Anyone? Hmm. I have to tell you, as you're thinking, look for the forcing attacking moves. See, White did not do them though. He played just a little quiet Queen G3, and now you may be wondering why. Why did White not focus on really threatening and taking the F7 and everything else? Why did he have to do a move like this? The reason why he didn't focus on the others and he made a more of a quiet move with Queen to G3 is because the big attacking forcing moves don't always work. You want them to work, and it's a great, idea, great feel. But truth is that often they don't. Oftentimes, what it really comes down to is making moves with which you just bring your pieces close. That's what this move is doing. With the queen being on the g3, now white is able to have it close. So if black plays f takes g, there's going to be knight takes the g. Queen can go towards the d6 even if possible. And slowly but effectively, black's position is actually going down. Very nice. Remember, the successful attack is a balance of two things: getting the ability to get more pieces and getting the chance to make more threats. With that in mind, white is certainly able to apply quite a bit of pressure here. Black played bishop b7, and then knight takes d5. See, the big forcing move didn't come late. On the contrary, it came pretty fast. We just wanted to do it quite powerfully here, so it was great. Now, with that in mind, there is more things that black's got to worry about. He played knight e5. Now, look at the black queen. Again, it was started with black being super developed, and then it ended with his queen being on the horrible looking position at f at g8 while he's struggling to survive against all those type of things. Now, how is that even possible? I wouldn't say that this is a good question. I'd say that the right question is, why is that possible? Why did it come like that? The reason why, the only reason why that was possible and it happened like that was because all that time, White knew that his structure is going to help. We're going to go back and talk about structure a little bit more, but let's finish the game. Takes here, knight c7. This is a killer move. It's just it's really beautiful because there's nothing that I believe black could continue with in this type of position. The both rooks are horribly placed, and then we could understand the trouble. This is just ugly and painful and difficult. So, in fact, actually, after that, black did this here, here, and d5 was a nice move to blockade the black bishop. Restriction in such positions is totally necessary. Now, a lot of people don't appreciate that, but I always say, make sure that you restrict, because when you restrict the opponent a little bit more, you give it, you give your own pieces a lot more of a chance to keep, going forward. So that's a very special candidate right now. And yeah, the point behind it is that now black's got problems. So you played knight d7, e4. All about prospects. Again, I'm with a risk to sound a bit repetitive. And look at his pieces. None of black's rook, bishop, even the queen look like they have the ability to go anywhere or begin anything. On the other hand, white's got pretty solid ways to improve his position. He's got the idea of playing f4 and maybe even e5. He's going to be thinking about possibly c4 plus bishop b2. He has the h file. He's got the queen. He's got the knight. He's got the bishop. And with all those moves coming forward and ahead, he is almost going to be destructive to black. This is all great. Black advanced, king c2. Here, check there, bishop f4, knight c4, and rook h4 helped out beautifully. What is amazing in this position is that once the white rook comes through the h file, so that he could do rook a to h1, then there's going to be rook h7. Pressure versus the f7 and e7 is going to be created either way. And with the black king being on the back side and all the rest of his pieces horribly placed, white's dominating. And now here is the key. If you want to be really successful in a position like that, let your opponent hang in there. Now that may sound slow and strange, but it's really what you want to do. Letting your opponent hang into the bad position is a great technique, because what it will often do is that it will make him to just be passive or be that backward. And sooner or later, he will make a lot of mistakes. Now, why is that? Because nobody likes to be in a bad position. Your opponent, much less so. When your opponent is in a bad position, he's going to try any way or anything to get himself out. And then, that's the idea. And then, when he jumps in somewhere, when he attacks in somewhere, or tries to counter somewhere, you will be in your place, in your condition to counter him. And because in fact, he will be the one to open up out of a bad position of not a position of power. So next, after this, black played queen e8, bishop c7. So all these type of threats are coming one after the other. There's no way how he can move out. It's all about threats again and again and again and again. It's just a great type of feeling. Okay, well, black obviously have this real problem. He played with the move of knight e3 check and then rook takes d5. You see, like it's you may ask or wonder why that happened, but it's out of frustration, really. Just like that type of a move, it's horrible. And then after rook takes d5, pawn takes d, bishop takes d, knight f4 came back, exchange, and rook e4, bishop e5. Now white has an exchange up, but the position has changed. You see, when you are material ahead, you have to understand one very important thing. Position has irreversibly changed. And when it ever does change like this, you have to stabilize. Most people believe that when they have a material advantage, everything's allowed. And they will be able to do a lot of tactics, many threats, all that kind of stuff. Not so. Your material up, likely you've given up something to get that. And that something often has to do with initiative. You would have lost the initiative. Now, don't be worried about that. It's not that terrible. Okay. But what is so important is that you really try to think about a way to, just counter, but only after you have stabilized. So you could prevent the opponent from reaching out or doing anything special. This was a very big key. So white did it quite nicely. Everything's clear here. After that was done, let me see. This knight xd, rook xd captures, exchange, rook e1, and queen g4. You see, by making a couple of those exchanges, white just took out, he killed off the pressure or anything that black was intending to keep. So as there is no real pressure, there's no real tactics or anything great, and we're good to go. So now, what is going on really in the position here? Well, doesn't have a chance to make his queen and knight really connect. And because of that inability, so to speak, we could easily predict that it's not going to be enough. Queen f6 is countering very quickly, so he's losing this piece. And yeah, that's very bad. Okay, so what black did in this position is queen h4, check. Now the rook is coming down, and game is basically over. I really like this game because it shows a couple really important points. I'd like to go back to the earliest stage and actually talk about, you know, some of the moments before. Back to the earliest stage. I'm just gonna go back. Okay, here we go. Once White was able to set up, he made some very weird moves. F3, knight e2, g4, king d2. Now I want you to pay attention as to why White was able to do this, which we usually would consider a terrible mistake. It's called structure. Now, what is structure at its very essence? Structure at its very essence is the way on how we position our pawns to give our pieces the ability to do something. It's interesting because those pawns that White had provided such a powerful formation that even with his king in the middle and all these troublesome, bothersome things, White was still having a huge advantage over Black for the simple reason that he could command, he could dominate the position of Black's pieces and their abilities. So Black never really had a chance to make anything good. He was always behind. This is why I say that if you want to make a successful opening, forget about theory so much. Theory could help you only to an extent. What really you care about, the secret to any successful opening, is can I make a formation of my pawns in such a way so that I could limit his options, I could limit his pieces, and ultimately with that, prevent him from coming any further, advancing or attacking and doing anything. It was very beautiful, just like as White did it, step by step, limiting Black in such a way. I want to show you another game that is just as instructive, and I hope that you will like it as much as I did. I'm gonna copy it now. By the way, for any of you who want me to send you this PGN with all the annotations and everything, you could just send me a message on my email. I'll be glad to send you with all these examples from today. So my email is valeri.lilov@gmail.com. I put it on the chat or directly through my website, tigerlilov.com. I'm going to put in another game that I think was very interesting. By the way, don't forget that only for a few hours, Grandmaster Shanklin's course is available at a great discount. It's a 16-hour course for a great, for a great $50. And it's only for a few hours, after which the offer is going to be done. iChess is really nice, and they provide a great value with each of their lessons. So I love that course, and I do recommend you to take a look at it. So now, the game that we're going to see was played between Vishianan himself and Maxim Vachier-Lagrave. Great game. It speaks a lot about attack, but not only. So I'd want to bring it so I can tell you a couple of things. All right. Just a second. Here we go. St. Louis is a great game to talk about. 2016. So Lagrave was actually playing white in this game. So we're going to see it from Anand's perspective. It started off pretty well, I have to say, for the beginning of the game. C6, D5, and actually after that, White played E5, knight E4. First thing we see is one of the most ambitious ideas. It's called activity. When you make your pieces get most active, they naturally turn into that powerful strength that we often call control. Like, just, you need to have that strength. You need to have that activity if you're ever going to be successful with your tactics. This is exactly what White is learning in this position to do. And that's why he wants to have that pawn and that knight together powerfully. Very helpful. And when that's done as well, basically white picked up to do knight e2. Now this is a horrible looking move, as you could see. It's just, I don't want to comment so much about the move. I just want to say that I feel this is not a great candidate, and possibly the reason why he wanted to do it was because he just wanted to play for d3 on some of the next moves, and it makes a good sense after all. Why not? So it did make a good sense actually. What does white do? What does black do? Played queen b6. Great. That queen is now coming forward pretty quickly. It sets up a nice challenge, good threat, and we have the ability to threaten him. Great. Oftentimes, the idea in the opening is not just to be active, but if possible, also consider a chance or a resource to create threats. It's not always going to happen, that's true, but we want to do it whenever we can. So this was a good candidate. White played this and e6. Okay, so far so good. Everything is decent. White played with knight g1. Now, when you see someone doing moves like that, you got to know this is not going to work for him. It's not. You can't just be going back like that and around and hope that things are going to go well. You know, it just doesn't go like that. It's a bad idea. So, what is white supposed to do? I mean, given that this is obviously not a best approach for black, should white just choose to push up or maybe do something else? There are a couple of versions to handle this, actually. But what black chose was very important. It is fighting the opponent's strongest point in the position. Great idea. If you're ever going to be successful with any tactics or attacks, you must be thinking about what is your opponent's strongest point. Strongest point was the e5 pawn. Both the e5 and d4 were really the position, the points that he's basically looking for to maintain the strength of his position. But then the moment we fight that, he's left with no points. Suddenly, there's going to be a big problem. He's going to have an issue with this, and more stuff is going to come out kind of badly for him. I really love that move. I'm going to tell you why now I love it. I love that move for that one special reason. The rule number one about these positions is always think about an attack. Think of a possibility to get the threats and do all this. I love that. But also, don't forget how necessary it is to exchange the good pieces. Now, with this move, we're restricting a lot more than anything else. And restriction is great. Look at this. White played now f3, knight g5, e takes f, g takes f. So again, it's a weird thing. There's no development, but what black is doing is more than brilliant. He sets up the knight. He knows that this is all we care about, the knight being there and all the good pieces nearby. And what's happening after that is also terrific. Knight g3, bishop to the d7, takes. Why are we again allowed to do this? Why? The only reason is because the opponent is inferior in development than us. So when it really comes down to thinking about how well we're developed, what you're really looking for is how well you're developed in comparison to him. Very interesting point. It's not so much how well you're developed in general. How well are we developed in comparison to him? Now, maybe we're a little behind in development, but in the end of the day, it turns out that black is better developed than black. And that's all that really matters. Because if you're better developed than your opponent, it's all you cared about. It's all that we need. So compare. That is a valid idea for almost anything else you may be thinking about. Comparison helps a great deal. So what do we do next in this position? Well, right after that was played, white played with c3, not a6. In fact, black has three developed pieces versus white, who's got I don't know how many. He doesn't have that many. He's got the queen. That's nice, sure, but that's about it. There's not much more than that. Majority of his own forces are fairly back and down in development, so he's not that perfect. King d8, bishop c4, king c7, a4, c5, knight e2, rook d8. So you see, black isn't really perfect, but when you really think about the development, you understand that he doesn't need to be perfect. He's just better than white is. And that's all we really care about. Can you be better than your opponent in development? Yes, we can. Here you go then. And let's see. After the move of rook to the d8 was played, white did bishop e3, f5. See, because white is completely unable to make any real attack or whatever, we don't worry about any of the tactics. He just doesn't have the chance to make any, really. So that's fine. There, king b8. Sure. Now we got that king taking himself out of the possible danger. We know that this is going to help in the longer run because the king is certainly moving out, and it is perfect. This here, knight c7. Why bother? In the end of the day, he is not going to be able to make any serious attacks or tactical things, so let's just make it simple. Well, that was really great, and I don't think white has any chances to make much more. He continued with the a5, queen c6, queen f6, bishop d6, takes. It's amazing how fast black was able to really get his own pieces out on the right positions. Didn't even take long. Took what, a couple moves, and then suddenly it's all there for black. And so after the capture, what does white do? Takes take, knight d4, b4. So it looks like white got himself back in the game, doesn't he? It's just, wow, gotta say, feels like a pretty good idea. Almost does. But again, remember to think in the long run. Never think just now. After queen e7, we suddenly realize that once the black bishop gets out, none of white's pieces have the ability to do anything too much more. And that's, well, it's a little sad. In comparison to what he really wanted to do, now he does not have the chance to do any of this, and it's a problem. Rook g8, rook g6. The structure is, again, what really holds black's position together, and it duct tapes any possible weakness that could have been out there, like a vulnerability or any other case. So we know, and we now know that it's easy. So what happens now? Just like considering the tactic, and white played rook to the d1, hoping that maybe he could, I don't know, just get out of the way and try some complications, right? Sure, just doesn't matter. Rook here, there, and rook f6. Queen h4, knight d5. What is the only thing that matters most in these positions? You could say it's threats. You'll be kind of right. You could say it is the idea to be a little bit more, like challenging with your pieces. You will be right. But the only thing is, I mean, above all, what stands above all else really is the activity. If you could make yourself more active, That's the only thing that will count. And the reason why black is so much successful here, really. So there, this knight takes d6, bishop takes d6, bishop takes d5, e3. When you get the activity, you have one of the most important elements to make your position successful. So every tactic that follows is actually pretty good for you because you already know and you already have what you need. So it's he's not developed enough. He's not prepared. He takes, check, and okay. Obviously, White shouldn't have done that, but I mean, he realized that moves like knight takes f4, rook g8, pawn to e3. It's not just like, oh, here is a nice tactic, and he messed it up. It was all those problems that make him to feel the pressure, to feel the terror, that's coming from here. It was a lot of things, and I don't feel like he really wanted to experience them all at once. So it was a bad looking position. It definitely did not work too well for him. So it's an interesting example, really good, in terms of a concept, like how you should be thinking. And so, like, we just led him to attack, taking, check, capture, and then of course now black is a bishop up. So I don't even need to say anything here because it's clear what really happened. So what are the again like some of the major things you could learn from this game? Very similar to the previous game, we could learn that structure guarantees where the pieces will go and what they will do. But now we understand one more principle about comparison. Comparing what you got with what your opponent has got is quite key. And that's why you would always like to do it like that. Compare. Comparing is essential. When White was able to do this well, when Black was able to do this well, we realized that he's so much stronger, more prepared, more powerful, and dangerous than White would ever be. So we care about that a lot. This was a great thinking. Another very valuable idea that helped out a lot was later when the tactics really became, when everything just started being like this, bishop d7 and that, White didn't realize that there was nothing he could do. You see, threats are essential, but not everybody has them. White simply did not find out that there were no threats. There were no real opportunities to make the tactic work. So if there's no threats, if there's no opportunities, then what is he going to do? What else is really necessary? What else is important? Threats were not there, and White's attack simply did not work out. One key element for any position like that you want to evaluate correctly is think about threats. Who does have the threats? Do I have them? Does my opponent have them? That'll help you big time, so what it's about. And more importantly, later when it comes down to those kinds of moves that actually happened after the exchange, queen d6 and everything, it was just very one-sided way for White to keep his attack. He never had the chance to make anything, any type of, resources, challenges, threats, or whatever it was to make this good. I still like this game though. It was a very instructive, lovely game, and we could see a couple key elements that can help you with the evaluation. Now, I'd like to bring up another game that was actually shown from Grandmaster Shankland's actual course. So I'm going to bring it up here. Now, one of you just wanted to mention that any of you could go for this type of advice of evaluating, comparing, and everything, but you want to learn the technique first. So don't forget to check out Grandmaster Shankland's course at 50% off from the link below the video. It shows a lot more than what I'm showing right now, and it's 16 hours, so it's an amazing value. Now let's take a look at the third game. Great game. Played by the women's world champion, Yifan, and another strong grandmaster. So give me 1 second. I'm going to copy the game right now. Okay, here we go. Actually, it was not a grandmaster. Sorry. So there it is. Now this is a nice game. Look and see what happened. The game started off pretty nicely. It was a good development. White got the real pass started, and it felt good. C3, castles, H3, D4. Structure of white is pretty awesome here, as we can see it. It's all about, those good pieces and everything with them. So it was indeed very good. And then after that, knight d7, knight d2, bishop b7, bishop c2. So it's all up there. Good space, good activity, control is there, and black is a little behind. So what happened after that? After the last move of bishop to the b7 and bishop to the c2, essentially black did the move rook to the e8, and now white plays knight f1. This is very interesting to notice because it's not just the fact that white is building up, it's the center and the time that he gets. It's little by little, the pieces are going up. Knight g3, great setup here. And after that last move, white plays a4, c5, and d5. So far, it's been just a setup. What comes next is really where the game begins, where the real deal is. e5, c4, bishop g5, knight c5, e2, bishop e7. So this is wonderful. The setup is good. Black's a little back and behind, of course. And white is ready. He can do different type of things, different type of challenges. So what did white do? I want you to think a moment and tell me your own thought of what is white supposed to do at this point, because it's a really good position, I think, really important one too, and a necessary decision needs to be made. Most important of which is what to do now. Do we attack? Do we try to realize different type of moves, or we have to play it in another way? Now, while you're thinking about that, I would like to give another very important advice. You have to pick a side. Pick an area of the board where you really want to do your stuff and stick to it. Because if you do this, oftentimes that will mean that you will focus your play on just one area or one side or one particular, thing. And then it helps a lot. It does. So make sure that whatever it is that you do or you choose to do, you focus it on that one side, on that one area, with the things and the moves that are the best candidates. Let's see, what are the ideas that you'd have in mind? Now, one of you asked, do you need any software for these DVDs? Not really. It all comes with a video, so you could really just join it and start watching. Really, you don't need any special software. So no. Now, knight h4. Do we do knight h4 here? I like that move of knight at h4. It would stand as a good move. It would actually help the knight to step in there closer towards the f5. So why the hell not? It's good. White play it? That's a good question. What white did was bishop h6. That move is done, I believe, on purpose to not scare black too much. See this? We don't want to scare him off too quickly. It's not that it would have been a bad idea to do the other move, not on the contrary. But this one just feels a little more, like well related. And yeah, we have the ability to plan ahead maybe with knight h4, within some of the next moves, so it will be quite good. And so with that type of move, of course, we have a great chance to keep him under more pressure. Black blade, this, not h2. Excellent. This is good. We're getting the chance to keep up. Most of black's own pieces don't have that ability to make much more, and so what we're doing is little by little. Once again, he did bdx to a, rook a2. You may be wondering, okay, Valeri, I do get the other moves, but I'm not sure I'm getting that last move that just happened. Why would anyone want to position his rook on such a backward place? And that's why a lot of chess players' attacks don't usually work, because people are focused on just one area and they completely miss the other. I'm not asking you to play on that area at all times. That would be obviously wrong. What I'm asking you to do is to think of the possibility, or to think of the possibility to make one or two really good stabilizing moves that will help you to consolidate, to solidify your position on that one area. And when you do so, what is suddenly going to happen is that we're going to have all the necessary space and command and nice possibilities out there, and we can go by that. We could do a lot of things with this in mind. A very valuable thing. So white knew that all that was really necessary in this position is just about, okay, let's take the piece and arrange them like that. It's a great move. Small, but very important. Well, with that in mind, certainly black has a bit more of a problem. And yeah, actually black's got a little issue here. So he did the move of, okay, here, rook f1, bishop to the c8, bishop c8, king h1. There's nothing at all that black will be able to do on the other side of the board. However, we could do f4 now. We can go for moves like, after e takes f, we could play queen takes f4, and there's going to be a lot of action taking place on this side of the board. It's really strong, and I think that this is the reason why I just played it like that, so he could solidify and get ready. Okay, so looks good. I mean, after that, what comes in is that black played rook b8, bishop b3. Now, why is not white rushing? Like, rushing makes a lot of sense. If we're faster, we'll be able to get through there and keep the tactics going, right? Not so. If you're faster, it means that you can go fast. That's cool. However, what really matters in such positions is that you're able to actually deliver threats. If you cannot deliver threats, it may not work as well. The reason why the move of pawn up to the f4 did not happen is because after the exchange takes in knight e5, it would have simply helped black's pieces. It would have given him the ability to come through, to solidify. Why? Why do it? There's no reason. See, and this is the real reason why black didn't want to go that route. Why the reason why she did was bishop e3, knight g4. There is no reason for you to rush when your opponent hasn't got anything that dangerous on the other side. So let's just build it. Build and build and build until everything's in place. And when everything's in place, we break. See? You don't have that time all the time. Sometimes you just have to rush. Okay, this is clear. But you want to be thinking about it in respect to the timing, based on, okay, what your opponent can do and whether he is prepared and ready. Now we knew it. There's no real need to hurry. So I just took the time to prepare and get everything ready, so finally that move could work with full power. And it did. And it did. f4 takes, f takes to d, queen f2, e6. You could just see now the danger. The bishop's coming to the d4. The queen is attacking big time out there, and it's a disaster for black. You can't make anything really. It was big. What about black? I mean, does he have any chance to continue or make something? Not really. If you think of them, it's a very horrible position with all those tactical things coming. There takes knight h5, bishop h6. Now, if you think about white's pieces, there are not too many that are attacking, but there are more than black on the king's side, and that's all that really matters. How many pieces do you have involved directly on that side of the board where things are going? And there are many more than black. So we have the bishop h6 come through. We have the black king that's awful, and there's a lot more than that. Taking, check. It's actually a checkmate. If he didn't go there, he could have played it on the g8, but that wouldn't have helped him because of the queen takes f8. Wow. You see, that's the point. When you start the attack, when you do the breakthrough, you want to be so well prepared that the moment you break, your position is going to be so strong that he can't even hold it. See? That's beautiful. It's really well played. So again, each of these like games represents different small techniques. Now, of course, connecting them and making sure you could actually utilize these in your own games is the more challenging part. But again, knowing about them and sort of exercising on thinking purposefully or doing those in the different positions that we train or different games that we play is what I would call special, what I call really important. So once again, do not forget to check the brilliant course by Grandmaster Sam Shankland on the excellent, in my opinion, like topics of attacking. So it's only available for a few hours right below this video or on the chat. And I'd like to know if any of you guys have questions about the topic today or any of the games that we got to review. And now is a good time for you to ask me so I can respond to you. And just in case if you don't have any questions right now or so, you could always write me directly through my website. I'd be very happy to help with any questions you have on your own chess or anything specific. It's tigerlilov.com, or you can directly email me at valeri.lilov@gmail.com. I would love to help out and give you my insight on any topic you need or any games you send me for review. So it's all free. The questions or the games that you'd like to ask me about, I would be happy to give you my advice, my suggestion on what you can improve and where you need to work on your chess. So do feel free to do that. And again, okay, so how to study chess books, a good question. I recommend that you study it in the most engaging way possible. Usually that's done very well when you take notes on the key things that you learn. You try to, like use a physical board so that this can make you more physical with it. And especially what's very helpful is the idea of trying to guess the moves. That's one of the methods that I've always used. Trying to think about what I would do if I were in the master's shoes. And of course, when I don't succeed in figuring out the move, I think about, why am I wrong and what could be a better idea or a better move. So that helps a lot. In any case, thank you all for joining me tonight, and I'll speak to you next Saturday at the same time. Thank you, guys. Have a good weekend.